This is one of our, I think this is the 7th presentation from this summit. We are very excited to have you here. And if you haven't registered for all our sessions, I encourage you to do that. We will be giving out more than 20 CCUs. I guarantee 19 core competencies credits, and I think 4.5 research development credits. So we'll giving out a lot of credits. Today at 5:30, we'll have Elena Espinal, NCC. She will be speaking on the hidden dimension of coaching, cultivating sensibilities. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and register for 5:30 Eastern Time. And with us today, we have Katya Talavera, who is a member of our chapter. Katya brings a systemic lens to coaching, where the client is the team and purpose guides performance. A clinical psychologist who also holds a master's degree in organizational change, human talent management, and an MBA with 30 plus years of experience, and 21 leading Talavera and Asociados. She helps organizations align culture with strategy to build teams that add value. Welcome, Katya. The floor is yours. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Lots of friendly faces, some new faces. That's great. So let's start together. Are you prepared? Can put on your camera, that would be wonderful. If it's impossible, that's okay, we'll respect that. But the more we can see each other and connect with each other, that will be great. Okay? So let's start with my presentation. And let's see here. Okay, so let's start. Can you all see that? Yes? Can you choose an emotion which best represents how you're showing up today to the session? Have a look. What's going on with you now at this moment? And I will start and I will let you know, I feel grateful for being in this space. I am very curious of what's gonna happen in this space, which I hope it turns out to be a safe space. And I must admit, I feel a tiny bit anxious, but I would say the good anxiety. In terms of I'm prepared. Okay, I'm not confident, I'm not blocked. So if you could let us know, can we listen to some voices?
Yeah, I'm coming in curious, Katya.
Okay, great.
I'm coming in grateful and curious as well.
Okay.
I'm coming in curious and connected.
Okay. Who else?
I'm also coming in grateful and curious. I'm really eager to learn more about team coaching.
Okay. Very cognitive, everything. I want to see people a tiny bit more vulnerable so we can. What else?
Well, I can hear grateful as well.
Okay.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I feel connected.
Great.
Yeah, I would say connected and excited as well.
Can you repeat that, Shakti, please?
Oh, connected and there's some excitement as well.
Okay, I like that.
Listen.
Curious, and also a little bit rush because I'm gonna travel after this call. So.
Okay. Hopefully you'll be here and then you'll go. Great. So, any other emotions that we're seeing or maybe in the chat? So, it would be great to start listening to, oh my God, to start listening to other voices.
For me, pleasant and connected.
Okay, great. So, has everybody shared in a way how they're showing up?
In the chat, if I could read, Katya.
Okay, please.
Arendira, curious. Viviana, grateful. Rosario, curious. Dr. Liesel, peaceful, grateful, and curious. Sophia, calm, grateful. Amanda, sad and a little anxious.
Okay. 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 So what's going on in this field? What's going on in where we are at the moment? What's repeating? A lot of curiosity. What else? People grateful. An excitement. And there's Amanda. She's you said you were a tiny bit sad and anxious, I think. Okay. So, what do you think, Shakti? Do you think we need a very short grounding exercise?
Well, I think it's for the group. Does the people here think that a 2-minute grounding would be of value? Maybe raise your hands or nod your heads or something. Yeah.
And maybe 1 minute, Shakti. I'll
1 minute.
challenge you. So you make
Okay.
it 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. All right. So 1 minute. If I can have you all, you're all seated. Maybe put both your feet flat on the ground if it's possible. And if you're not seated, just notice on your connection to the ground. Taking in a breath, whatever depth, doesn't have to be super deep, whatever breath feels comfortable to you in this moment. You can lower your eyes or lower your gaze or close your eyes. And as you inhale, notice what energy you want to bring into your body in this moment. Creating space for that to take hold in your heart space, in your mind, anywhere in your body where it would be helpful. And with your exhale, release any tension that you may feel or any thoughts that are not serving you in this moment. With the last exhale in this exercise, notice your heartbeat. And notice where you need to be grounded. Thank you.
Wow. So how do you feel now? And what's the purpose of showing emotions? It's just to check in. It's our thermometer of saying, how is everybody showing up? And my insistence actually, when you're in a team coaching, that's great. You bring all the voices in, if you can, the first minute. That's creating an impact. And then I had spoken with Shakti before, so it's not that we're improvising that much, a little bit, no, from 2 minutes to 1 minute. And it's just to get everybody grounded and focused. And maybe try to get the most of this time. Okay? So let's see what comes out of this experiment we're gonna have. And I'm gonna continue sharing with you. So those were the emotions. And I would like you, after that grounding exercise Shakti helped us with, to reflect on these two questions. In one sentence, what will showing up at your best look like today? And what do you need to make it possible? Could you reflect? And it would be wonderful if you could share this in the chat. And let's make it quite quick. We have a lot of material to cover today. Would somebody like to share?
I can jump in. I want to be completely present and focused during the whole presentation because I want to learn, and I need silence. And I have my gardener here, and he's making a lot of noise.
Okay, so you need to block that. But being present is very important. So, who else?
I can also say being fully open to what is being offered by you and the whole community of coaches that we have here, and then keeping my mindset focused on that intention for the time that we have.
Okay. Wonderful. Who else? Meredith, your silence.
Thank you. I put in the chat being flexible with my schedule, but what I did not add is that by being flexible with my schedule, I'm able to stay present to what's going on and allowing for the things that enter and that are unexpected and being able to handle those with everything else that is going on in my day.
Okay. So you're going to be multitasking?
Not here, but
Okay.
no, not so I don't have to multitask. So I'm present, so I
Okay.
could, but I could be flexible if I need to move things around.
Okay, because you know that to be present, you can't multitask.
Exactly. No, you can't.
Okay, so do we have any more comments on the chat, Claudia?
You can read the chat. It's Katerina says connected and present. Michelle, best avoid distractions. Kristen, limiting distractions. Oshak already said being open. Sophia being here and open. Flavia, awareness. Claudia Ramirez, staying connected and curious to learn. Alexandra being present and open to learn. And Dorothy being present and also have focus during the session.
Okay. So a lot of being present. Alexandra, I'm going to ask you, what do you need to show the best?
I need my coffee to kick in. I have a horrible jet lag. I just come from Europe.
Okay.
And but no, I'm very curious. I'm very happy to be here. I'm super grateful for all the trainings and workshops. So yes, I'm excited, even though I'm really, really tired.
Okay, you want to go and grab a coffee?
I have it here, big one. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, who else would like to share? So, usually when you're in a team coaching and mainly a systemic team coaching, in the beginning, it's very important to agree on what you need to show your best version. And usually, you will write this down and start a team charter with this, with an agreement. And this is where, for example, Claudia said she needed silence, but there's a gardener outside that might be interfering, no? But say, and for example, Amanda, you mentioned that you were a tiny bit sad. So if we were a team, maybe I would, or I could ask you if you were willing to, but I would make sure that you have everything you need to be present in this session. So listening at all the voices and making sure we're including everybody. And maybe some things, when you're a group, we are a group now, and you're here for this presentation and to learn what's the shift between going from one-to-one to a team coaching using the core competencies. Okay, so you would start with that alignment, with that agreement. What do you need? And voicing out what is it that you need from each other. So let's continue with the intended impact. This is my intention. And let's see what it turns out to be. To create a safe, inclusive space to reflect, to learn and connect, and learn from each other. I've been listening to different coaches. The level of knowledge, experience is very diverse and very rich, and I think we can learn from each other. And with this, I wouldn't like to be or take on an expert role. I would like us to learn from each other in this experience. I would like to share my journey as a leadership and systemic team coach and an invitation so you can start reflecting on your own. I'm going to talk how I got into systemic team coaching, and we're going to apply the updated ICF Core Competencies and the Team Coaching Competencies when the team is the client, be able to differentiate what is team coaching, what's facilitation, what's training and consulting. And this is asking some of my colleagues and close friends, what your expectations would be on this presentation. So I've taken into account people's expectations as well, and to use a systemic lens to generate stakeholder value, illustrated with examples from my experience. And I will ask you if you have experience as well to use, and demystify my ACTC journey from readiness to credential. And this is because I was ready, I had everything, the credential, but I took some time. And I wanted it to start saving some space to decide when it was a good time to get that credential. So this is how I got into systemic team coaching. This is with the lockdown, March 2020. My country was a little bit complicated in those times, a little bit before. We had blockades, we had very complicated, we had elections, people were not happy, the economics was going down the drain, and COVID was here. And my daughter, Sophia, who's in the call, in January, she said, "Mom, there's gonna be a lockdown." And I completely was like, what's going on? And that side of the world was a different reality to mine. No, so there were some decisions that we had to make. Was she traveling with her dog or not, or she decided to stay? So that was the context. Being in the lockdown, being excluded of the world, and this was something that was happening worldwide. And that is how I started looking at other options. We became virtual with my team. And I got into WBEX, and there I discovered a new world. I had been coaching, I had been working on leadership development for many years, but it was the first time that I saw all the options that started opening with what coaching could offer. So I took, I would say, 2 pillars. One was the breakthrough coaching with Marsha Reynolds, and I started a serious training. I did the 3 levels, and I was really trapped with that school. And the other one was with systemic team coaching with Peter Hawkins. So I was really, I had a deep dive into preparing myself. And this was, I would say, the lockdown. I had to continue working. It was not optional. I couldn't say, I had a team. I was not gonna get rid of them. So we needed to work together and make sense. So with my teams, they would say, what's going on in the world? We don't know. Let's make sense together. Let's learn. Let's support each other with everything that was happening in the world. So, and I remember learning how to connect virtually. So the virtual hug became a symbol that got us closer together. So meanwhile, I was starting to learn about systemic team coaching, and it started showing me different lenses, different systems, and starting to perceive reality in a different way. So Claudia Ramirez, who's here, I met her during the lockdown, and we were a group of female coaches. All were Hispanic speaking people we had in different parts of the world. So we started supporting each other, investigating each other, and we got to this model, which is the model of Bani. I'm not sure if does anybody know about the model of Bani? No? Yes, I can see. Okay, so before, just a little bit of background because it's quite interesting. The VUCA appeared, the model of VUCA was after the Cold War, and it said that the world was volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But what was happening, 2018, James Cassio, who's a futurist, started investigating, and COVID accelerated his model, and he came up with the model, which is Bani, and he said, the world is brittle, it's fragile. People are not uncertain anymore, people are anxious, they don't know what's going on. It's not complex anymore, it's non-linear. There's not like a cause and an effect. People were dying and they said, oh, it's only old people, but young people started dying, so you couldn't, in a way, predict what was gonna, and it was incomprehensible. So in 2020, James, well, we were talking about a chaotic world, but now in 2025, starting last year, when I reached out to James Cassio recently, I asked him, what would you name now the world? And he said, I would call it an omni-crisis. It's not a poly-crisis. It's not different. Everything is in crisis. But there's good news. Wait. So this bigger context requires a different type of leadership. Fragility, you need to build capacity, resilience, anxiety, and fear. You need that empathy and mindfulness. Non-linearity requires understanding the context and adapting. Incomprehensible demands transparency and intuition, and there's a shift. If we're talking of omni-crisis, we need a shift and a new mindset. And this is the good news. James Cassio, I read an article in July. I was just wondering what was his thinking in this world new context. And it was an article of the Bani presidential election and what was the impact in the world. And he wrote that there's a possibility of shifting from the Bani, where we have a fragile, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible world, to have a positive Bani. And this is, I think this is wonderful for coaches who are there to help in the shift, to walk with, to make that shift possible. So fragility in positive Bani becomes being flexible. Everything in this is what Kobe showed us. The rigid companies, and even people. I remember somebody in my team that was stubborn, who didn't want to get into our virtual meetings, and she was gonna fall out. No, because she was too rigid and she had to become flexible to stay in the team. Anxiety can be only approached with acceptance. What is it that we can change and what is it that we can't? Non-linearity with neuroflexibility. Flexibility, and this is a term that's growing and growing, because our brain can change and we can continue learning until we die. We're never too old to learn. And what's incomprehensible, it's with the inclusion of different perspectives. And here is where I think that a systemic point of view can help us. So, what is it, a systemic lens? First, we start with one-on-one is what's going on with the individual. That's one system. Then interpersonal. What's going on, each one with their own system. What's going on in the team? And sometimes we will see some organizations focusing only on the team and focusing on the internal teams, different areas. They talk about silos and they're fighting between each other. And then it's about coaching the relationships, not individuals, and finding out what's connected, and also coaching what is not connected or what are the disconnections. So it's going from like getting a bigger perspective in terms of what are you looking at, and looking at the stakeholder interfaces, how you interact, what are the expectations they have from you, and what is it the value you add to those specific stakeholders, and going wider into the system, the ecosystem. And you'll see later on with an example I will show you with an NGO I'm working with. Is there any question? Or I continue? Silence. Is it okay? We'll continue then. So, what about the systemic team coach? The systemic team coach here appears in 3 dimensions. So, first is a systemic thinking. So, what is his understanding or her understanding of what's going on? Looking at different systems, not staying with one, but going and looking from the balcony into the dance floor. No, so you can zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and you will have this systemic team coaching moving in and out and going, okay, what's the impact in the ecology? What's the impact in our clients? What's the impact in different stakeholders? So the how is the systemic doing. How do you approach this? And who are you as a systemic team coach in the different dimensions? Here, with the stakeholders, this is all part of Peter Hawkins' teaching, and I'm part of faculty as well. So you will have staff. You consider the staff's family, suppliers, communities, investors, clients, competitors. What happens if you don't start listening to your competitors? The press, and I was thinking while I was preparing this, when I was in the oil and gas industry, the press was very important because they had a very strong impact. The banks, the NGOs, what is the perception? Are you eco-friendly? Are you not? And maybe even the new generations that come with a different perspective and more ecologically aware. What are the pressure groups that will not let you continue with your operations? And the future generations. And if I can start illustrating, for example, working with a company that was family owned and they had different companies, in working with them and asking them, what is it? And there was a newborn little girl. So we brought the voice of the little girl who was 1 month old in an empty chair. This was presential. And we said, what is this little girl gonna say in 2050 that she would have liked that would happen in this meeting so that she would get the future she wants? And Peter Hawkins talks about the 13th fairy. Who is the 13th fairy? It is who you forget to invite and who will get resentful of not being invited. So start considering, where do you have an impact? It's not only your little circle, and this is something that I've been inside the corporate world, and being an internal coach, sometimes you think that the world is only your company or the teams. So it's looking beyond that. Okay, so an introduction to what is the shift from one-to-one to systemic team coaching. One thing that it's crucial when you look at the core competencies, the 8 core competencies, the client is the team. It's not a sum of individual, but you think of the team as a system who have their life on their own. And you're coaching the relationships. You're not coaching individuals. Even if you're coaching the leader, you're coaching the leader serving the team. So your central focus has to be that the client is the team. And you are creating value with and for the stakeholders. So you're defining, you're co-creating, you're discovering what's the shared purpose. A living contracting is understanding and having clarity of your purpose, the roles, the scope, the ethics, and what are the success measures, the ways of working. I would say that psychological safety in systemic team coaching really magnifies. In terms that you have to bring all the voices. If you do not trust, you have to work with trust. If you don't trust, you won't have psychological safety. So you have to have like a foundation to bring everybody's voice to be working and getting the most of the team, including all the voices, having clear decisions. Yes, Shakti.
Is it okay to ask a question now?
Yes.
And especially regarding trust, and I understand the critical value of that. When a team is already in existence and they already have experience working together, and there is a certain structure in which exists in almost every company and corporate structure I've ever seen, I wonder how you actually create that full level of trust that is necessary for team coaching or for coaching in general to really be impactful. Because there's, in my experience as not as a coach, but as an individual in a team, there's always that sort of underlying who's after my job, or how this is going to impact my pay structure, or how is it going to impact the security of my role, et cetera, et cetera. How do you deal with that as a coach?
I would say you take each team individually. There's not a formula, but I would say first start working on trust. And one of the disciplines that works on trust is team building. So if you are working as a team coach, you will have to either wear different hats or you hire an expert in team building who can help. But you do have to work first in trust. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. And at least you have to start sharing it. It's not something immediately, and the changes have to occur in the room and not after the workshop. So one way is like asking this, what do you need to build trust on? And getting some agreements. Does that answer your question, Shakti? But you will find some clients that are working for 15 years and they don't trust each other.
Yeah.
So I will take it one by one and have some common ground, and you can suggest. And I would say building that. And there's some assessments where you can get to work on psychological safety. Yes, Katerina.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe I will add that something that, for example, if you are working with a team that we have been talking, you have been in the example of the Argentinian team, and Messi has his own goal, maybe be mark the next goal, the next score, but there is the upper goal that is win the World Cup. So even if he wants to be the one that's going to mark and he see another player, he knows what is bigger for him. So he has to send the ball to this person because he has a bigger goal, to show that there is a bigger goal for all of them. So you can align, even you have this, but this is bigger than you. I think that in my case, this has been helping a lot.
Yeah, having and defining, you need to define who is the team in service of, and finding that common purpose. And when you have the sense of why are you there, it's going to be connected to what Katerina was saying. Having that direction, and you're going there for a bigger cause than just the tiny differences between maybe different areas. I remember when I was in the beginning of this systemic team coaching, getting a team. I'm working for more than, I don't know, like nearly 5 years. And I remember there were 2 commercial managers that didn't speak to each other. They hated each other. And in the first session, we started defining and bringing the voices. What are your clients? What do the clients need from you? What would they say to you? And having a conversation with an empty chair. After 45 minutes, and I would say it was like magic. The shift was amazing in terms that they said, really, our enemy is not inside, it's outside. And we need to get together to be able to get our goals. Michelle, I saw that you wrote something. Would you like to
I think I just wanted to build upon just what you were saying, Katya, that it really is establishing that team charter, as you talked about before,
Yes.
and even adding in, asking the team, what are the red and green card behaviors, the things that we're going to tolerate, the behaviors that really we shouldn't be tolerating as a team. And I think the biggest piece, I know in our training for systemic team coaching, you receive opportunities to really understand, here's how you can facilitate that conversation, tools. But the whole idea is not to ignore it. It's teams conflict. So help them figure out how to work through that conflict. And I can tell you, even in, I mean, we just had some opportunities during our practicum this last time as faculty to address it with the team. And there were so many people who felt a little uneasy, but in the way that you address it, there were many compliments about thank you for addressing that and not ignoring it.
If you ignore it, change won't happen. And it's just being brave enough to say, look, something's going on. I think somebody raised their hand, or no?
You got a heart.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll continue. How's the
Um,
rhythm going? Is it all right? Yes? Okay.
If I can just give me 2 seconds, I want to ask everyone to type in their correct name and last name for their certificate. If you're missing your last name, please put it in your name. Thank you.
Viviana Cervantes. Yes.
yeah, I just want to go back with the concept of trust. In my experience, I think trust is built on how the leadership shows up in the organizations. It's a matter of culture. So that means how leaders behave is the way that the team is going to follow that leadership. So trust is a concept built with many different behaves, openness, honesty, and the story that they had between them in a matter that they accomplish the commitments they established between them. So I think it's more aligned to a culture in organizations.
And cultures some can be flexible. Some teams are extremely difficult to work with in terms of, especially I found with certain cultures where they have some strong beliefs and they're not flexible into learn, and they will do, okay, let's do team building activities, or they say, let's do a team coaching program, but they're not really interested in change. So it's how do you break there and so they discover the need for the change. So you have to work with resistance. So change is difficult. And one thing that needs to happen is that the change needs to occur in the room. If it doesn't happen in the room, it won't happen outside. So thank you. Let's continue. We'll see that contracting with the new concepts, it's permanent, and I'm really happy with the new competencies because it brings that you have to revise your agreements, your contract. And we usually say for team coaching ABC, which means always be contracting, always. And as you said, Michelle, that team charter is a document that you have the opportunity to revise. If you start in the beginning of the program saying, okay, we're going to have a team charter. It's going to be a place where we put our agreements. I love what you brought of the green and red cards, which mean which are the behaviors we really value and what are the red cards which we don't tolerate. Like in the football, like Katerina was talking, we're gonna show you a red card. This is not accepted. And that gives clarity. I've had clients go like this, time out to their father with a very strong personality, say, wait, you're interrupting me, and going. So it can be, there can be an important change. The use of self is very important because the coach is an instrument and you're there sensing, very present, sensing what's going on there. You're using your body, you're using your emotion, and you're part of the system. You reflect what's going on in the system. And what can happen is that you might get absorbed by the system, and there comes the dangers that you start having blind spot, and that's where you need to supervise. In co-coaching, with the experience of co-coaching, I've been co-coaching with Michelle quite a bit for a few months. And can you share the experience, Michelle, what it is when you're co-coaching?
I see your hand movements. It's very much like a dance in
Yes.
many ways.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. You know, there definitely are leads at time, but it's not that you're going to remain in that spot. And it's very much, I think about, I have a difficult time following somebody when I'm dancing with them, following my husband, or because I want to lead. But when I let go, and I know, you know what, he's going to take care of it at this point. At other points, I'll do something. It's so much more freeing because you're really capitalizing and leveraging what each of you is bringing. And so that's really beautiful because it's not only you connecting, but you model quite a bit for what the team should be doing with each other. And if you can model that co-facilitation, co-coaching, that collaborative relationship, then your team sees, oh, and it may not be something that you're specifically saying, now watch. It really is more of a modeling for them to see this is how it should be working. This is how we address things when maybe we don't see. Maybe things didn't go the way that you planned it out, but you are adaptable, you're flexible, you're working together to still be of service to that team and to each other.
So you have this other person who's sensing as well, because it magnifies when you're there in front of the team. You have to be really present and sense what's going on. What are the energy shifts? Is everybody down, or are they bored? Or I could ask Michelle, am I giving too much content? Do I need to speed up? Probably I won't get with all the agenda I planned. What are your suggestions? And maybe jump in. My voice is getting like a little bit boring, no? So there it is. We are in a way, and you can, if you're a co-coach, you can jump in. Okay? Any questions so far?
Katya, only one ask from
Yes.
participants. They want to have the actual name of the course that you took.
Okay. Okay. That's wonderful. And I love this. Thank you. I jumped in without taking into account. Let me see. So let's go to the beginning. There it is. Beyond one-to-one, bringing the ICF core competencies to systemic team coaching. That's the name.
It's the training that you received. The training.
I'll put it in the chat for everybody, Katya.
The training. Oh, okay. So we're still faculty with Michelle. It's with Peter Hawkins, Systemic Team Coaching, and it's the TDE, Team Coaching Essentials. That's the level 1. Then we have the practicum and then the senior practitioner. Okay, so where are we? So we're gonna get into how are we doing with time. The core competencies, refresher, and impact. Has everybody seen the new competencies, the 2025 competencies? Yes, are you familiar with? Meredith, what do you think of the new competencies?
I think overall, there's been great positive changes or additions to it. I know throughout the seminars over this week, people have had some comments, positives and negatives, but I think that it's really more holistic and it's more always focusing on the client, but even taking it to another next level.
Yes, I'm really happy with them.
Yeah.
And they're very refined, very refined. And you know what? I've seen certain things that we did in team coaching that now it's applying for one-to-one. So if you haven't seen them, I would recommend you to look at them. So I wanted to share some of the here. So it's the same frame, same 8 competencies, but the bar is higher. there's a clear contracting, no, in terms of the roles, neutrality, confidentiality, a living agreement. I love that because that's what we do in team coaching. So when you are a team coach, you can't forget the other core competencies because you're a coach as well. So when you're preparing as a team coach, you have to have everything clear, and you need to be credentialed in one of the ACC, PCC, or MCC to become a credential team coach. There's deeper presence. There's much more clear the coaching team awareness. There's a sustained progression and autonomy, like building for the team to continue on their own. Ethics is elevated. There's more awareness and bias, and this is new, the well-being and boundaries, no? And supervision essential. This is new as well. As a team coach, you have to have supervision. There's so much, there's a risk of becoming absorbed by the system. That when you start working in only supervision, is gonna let you have a look from the balcony to identify what are the patterns and what's happening to you. And you will see like parallel processes happen. What's happening to you probably is happening to the team as well. The ethics is elevated, I said, supervision essential, and technology is explicit. I love this. No, it's become very explicit. What's the responsibility with artificial intelligence, the use, protect confidentiality. So, and there's an impact. So we're gonna start this exercise, and I want to explain first what's my intention. We're gonna experiment, okay? So we're gonna revise the new core competencies. So you've had the opportunity, if you've been in the summit with the other subjects, so we're gonna make like a collective build in terms of what is your understanding of the core competency. And then we're gonna see, I have some notes and we complement it, and then we'll see for systemic team coaching, okay? Is it clear? Yes?
Yeah, I share the team core competencies in the chat.
Okay, great.
If you need anything else.
So how are we doing, Erendira? Yes, fine.
Super.
Okay, so the first one, okay, ethical practice. What do we understand with ethical practice? What is being ethical?
It is about understanding of what are the boundaries, where is the freedom, or if you are in a one-on-one, what is I would say your rights and what are the rights of the client, understanding that you are here for support and facilitator, and from team coaching as understanding that the team is the unit and you are for them and not to serve them. I would say you are there to serve them.
Yes. So what is coaching? And one of the things is to be able to differentiate of what it's not coaching. Being in a discipline that supports people, you can very easily fall into giving advice or trying to save somebody or to repair, or to get into consultancy if they come and ask a question. So it's having clarity in that boundary. What is it that you entitles you? You are leading the process, right? but you're following the client's autonomy. So what else do we have in ethical practice? If we could hear other people.
Knowing when the relationship is not useful for the client.
Okay.
Being
So
able
being able to finish.
step away or, you know, invite somebody else.
Okay. And you have the chemistry call as well, no? In the beginning and say maybe it's not a good fit. So let's see. Let me see. Integrity and confidentiality across the stakeholders. That's key. No? So what is it that you're gonna, what's the confidentiality? And it's something that you have to make explicit. Explicit agreements on data visibility, confidentiality, clear boundaries, what is it we said, coaching, consultancy, facilitation, psychotherapy, and model the transparency, manage conflict of interest. This example that Michelle was sharing of modeling. As co-coaches, we had to model, we had a situation which was a little bit complicated, but we had to model, and in a way model a conflict that was going on. And how does this apply to team coaching competencies? Client as a single entity. If you're looking at the core competencies where you say client, think of the team, not individuals, a team as a living system. And see the distinctions. Here the distinctions are going to be between team coaching and other team coaching modalities. You need to demonstrate knowledge and skill needed to practice and specific blend the team modalities. You might be able to run a team building workshop or bring some dynamics, but in that moment you need to change hats and say, this is not team coaching, we're going to do this for this, and you offer it. Adopt a more directive team development modality. This you can't do in individual coaching. Here you can, but the purpose is only to help the team achieve their goals or to get more awareness or to grow. But you have certain interventions that are more directive, but to open. Maintain trust, transparency, and clarity when fulfilling the different roles related to team coaching. Okay? So if we talk about embodying a coaching mindset, what is embodying a coaching mindset? Anybody would like to?
Katya, I'll go ahead and say,
Yes.
just making sure that you have you're present and you're listening to the team, listening to, you know, whatever the person is saying. So I just really feel it has everything to do with just being present and focusing on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Claudia Flores.
I would say to keep in mind, like top of your mind, the team's best interest.
Okay.
Or like Katerina said, the ultimate goal. To keep that in
Okay.
mind.
Okay. Great. Somebody else?
Staying open to what might be showing up. I think, I don't, maybe that's the same as being present, but what might be showing up that isn't being said.
Yes. So here, it's the client responsibility. It's not for the results, it's the client's responsibility. Continuous learning and technology. This is new. No? In terms of professional learning and development as a coach, works with coaching supervisors and mentor coaches as needed. Reflective practice, bias, context, cultural awareness, self-awareness, intuition, emotional regulation, well-being, emotional, and that well-being has to be emotional, physical, and mental. Supervision, mentoring, and support. That wasn't there before. And openness, curiosity in self, not only in self, but the client and others. And self-impact awareness. So you have to be aware of what is the impact you have with your thoughts and behavior with the client and others. So that means that you start considering beyond the one-to-one. And with the team coaching, it engages in coaching supervision for support, development, and accountability when needed. Remains objective and aware of the team dynamics and patterns. I've experienced both types of supervision. I've supervised on one-to-one, especially when I had a team that I needed immediate intervention. No, that I didn't have clarity or it was too complicated in the beginning of my practice. I've reached out and say, okay, let's supervise. What's going on? What am I not seeing? What would be my best approach? And I've done also group supervision, which brings you other people with other experiences. And what happens there is you will see patterns. It's remaining objective and aware of team dynamics and patterns. And these patterns, you will see what is it repeating and what is it that is happening in different systems. I will show you with an example later. So let's move to third one. Establish and maintain agreements. What happens in one-to-one?
Well, we need to know what the client wants to achieve, what they need, to set the goal for the client to succeed by the end of the session.
Right. So it's the client that brings, right, what they need,
Right.
the goal. Okay. And also agree not only on the agreement for the session, but also for all the coaching process, right?
Right.
So what else? Anything else? I love this, the 3.01, the philosophy. Having your own coaching philosophy and sharing it. No? And defining what's coaching and non-coaching. It says, describes one coaching philosophy and clearly define what coaching is, and it's not for potential clients and stakeholders. It's not just the definition, but what's your philosophy as a coach? Appropriateness, what's appropriate in terms of the scopes, the roles you're going to have with clients and stakeholders, confidentiality, who you're going to include, the logistics, fees, schedules, duration, how are you going to end? And I think it was you, Claudia, that said, when you need to, when it's not serving anymore and you want to end. And you are free to do that. And from the 3.04 to 3.09, it's all about partnering. And yesterday we saw with Marsha Reynolds that it said that partnering is walking with, alongside, no, not directing. Partnering on the overall plan and goals, what you were saying, Viviana. If there's fit or compatibility, the session outcomes, the issues to address and resolve, the success measures, time and focus management, the direction towards desired outcome. And respectful closure, how you're gonna end, not only that session you will ask, but also the process. Yes, Alexandra.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
overall plan and goals with the stakeholders, right? So I don't know if this is the right place to ask the question, but I do it anyway, and you tell me, let's talk about that later. But you are hired by the vice president of a company to fix issues within a team. How do you manage the those plans and goals that the vice president gives you, but then you go into the team and you find out that the team is actually suffering from ill management and ill leadership? How do you cope with that? Because this is, for me, the a very interesting part. I've been in this situation before. And it's for a coach, I think this is a very fine line to walk. I don't know, how do you have any experience, or how would you handle that?
Yes. Who's your client? Your client is the team, right? But you have to agree on what is it that you need from the team, and you have to agree with the team. You come to an agreement. You will have the sponsor, or you will have the person that hires you, and they have, I would say, let's say you said the vice president hires you for what specifically?
So, for example, the team is not performing as great as the vice president wants to. So he wants to, or she, I'm sorry, they want to be the team more effective, faster, less mistakes, more projects, better timing. And then the team says, oh, but we have so many projects. Our leaders are unable to set the right priorities. We have changes every day, This is why we don't get the results they want. So how do you handle that?
Again, there's not a formula, no, but you have to manage expectations. What is it the vice president wants? What is it the team needs and wants? And you have to start having conversations. And together you will come with a way of working.
Okay.
Yes. Would somebody like to add to what I've said? But it would be managing, and especially when, and you have to be very clear there. For example, if you're working with a team and they hire you, or the owner, that they want something, or HR wants something, but you have to come into agreement for it to work. Otherwise, you're forcing a situation. And you have to be in service. What brings value to the stakeholders? For example, what I do usually is you may have the vice president, you may have the team, and say, okay, what is it that your clients need from you? So the conversation changes. It's not only the vice president, but you say, what is it that your clients need from you? What is it that the shareholders need from you? So you shift the conversation, and it's not only like a power dynamic. There will be, but you start putting things in perspective. And it's, I would say, initially it will be to start defining what is the common purpose. Yes, Katerina.
Yes, something that I want to add, maybe that can be helpful, is understanding that, as Katya mentioned, there is complex connections and relationships, and we are coaching that, and understanding that part of what they do here impact other things. So it is not just this. This is why you have to see in a systemic way how the marketing or sales one push for one goal and the others one push for another, but trying to align these kind of things, understanding that take them this zoom in and zoom out, so they have clarity about, okay, now I understand why this is important for them, because sometimes we are blind in just wanting to achieve what is important for us, and there is when the resistance comes. So if we can show that, then the guards, like, instead of being reactive, you can use creativeness and connections so that they can shape new ways of doing things, not just them but the others too, so that the pie can increase and the value can increase for all of them.
Thank you, Caterina. Claudia?
Yes, I have a very basic question. Like the people, let's say the client that hires you, let's say like Alexandra said, the VP, is he part of this contracting? Is he part of the agreement?
You have to manage expectations, and you have to bring the stakeholders into agreement. And everybody that is impacted.
How much freedom do these people have to speak?
But that's,
and tell them, okay, this is not, we're not agreeing.
Yeah, but that's where we need to work on trust.
Okay.
If there's no trust, it's gonna be just we're ticking boxes and pretending we're a team.
Yes.
Without trust, it's very difficult, because trust will allow psychological safety, and that's gonna allow change. Yeah. So it's bringing everybody into the agreement, and one thing to shift is saying, okay, who are we in service of? We're not in service of internal like areas or sub-teams. We're in service of our clients who bring the money and gives us sustainability. We're in service of the shareholders. I've had a team where I had to contract, and I'm working with them for 4 years now. We had to contract session by session, because they didn't know if the shareholders were going to close the company. It was so volatile, the business, that and I had to shift my mindset. I was used to doing a contract for many months, but it was, and I accepted, and I said, okay, I'll do. And it wasn't easy, but that was part of the parallel processes. What they didn't know if that was going to continue. I didn't know if my contract was going to continue. So, yeah. Viviana, I think Flavia was first.
Yes, Flavia was first.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment a little bit on what Alexandra brought. I have been in situations like that, and what it has worked for me is first to bring to the table what are the roles of each one in the team to achieve the vision of the company. So whoever hired you, president, vice president, has the vision as well as a North Star, right? So first, align themselves and their interests, their individual interests, depending on department, depending on their selves, to the mission and the vision of the company. Second, if there are blocks, like she mentioned, well, everything changes all the time, that should be brought to light. Because if everyone wants the same, which is achieve the vision and perform the mission, we have to discuss how to do it in a more effective way. So it's not about, it's not personal, right? You have to take the personal side of the discussion and bring it as a very team effort. And maybe they do not have the authority, maybe they are not direct reports to the vice president, but they can always talk to their direct report and so on. So things can be aligned even in a lower level so that they can reach the higher levels by escalating the process. So that's what I'm feeling now with many different clients. And this is very common in companies, right? Where people are stressed by too many changes, too many things happening all the way together. And I felt that this worked. I hope it helps her as well.
Thank you, Flavia. From a systemic perspective, it's important because you can have the vision, mission defined by the organization, but it's not yours. So in systemic team coaching, you work on a shared purpose. And it's bringing everybody and saying, who are we in service of? Why do we exist? And start with that. Where do we have an impact? What is the future needs from us? So it's going from the future, what the future needs from us, to now. What do we need to do now to get to the future we need? And what is it that the stakeholders, the clients, the shareholders, what do they need from us? Outside in, so we internally start working. I'm very conscious of time. So Viviana, if it's very short, so I would like to wrap up with an example.
Yeah, no problem. Just adding and building what you just said. I totally agree in terms that what it needs to have between these two identities, the team and the stakeholders, is what we can help as a coaches or team coaches, which is to find what they care both about.
Yes.
And this care about needs to be aligned. So maybe they just need to realize that, and in that terms, they take the mission and the vision now is from all the team and the organization. That's it.
And thank you, Viviana. And I would guys, what is the reason for your existence? Are you here? Or we continue?
Yeah, I'm gonna be short. From what
Yes.
I had the experience of doing team coaching or systematic coaching, but I'm listening closely to everyone. Sounds like me, when you are coaching a team, let's say you have an individual, like Claudia said earlier, you have to find a way to just make them understand. It sounds like reiterating what that goal is, like Katarina says, is something that you have to do in order for everyone to continue to understand this is what the goal is. This is where we're working towards. Where do you come in for this goal? How is it that we can move towards this goal? Is that right?
I would call it a common purpose. So
Okay.
you bring all the voices, you bring the team, you listen to expectations and define something. And you co-create that between all the stakeholders. But to be able to do that, as Alexandra said, they may not trust. And there, you as a team coach are not there to gossip to the vice president of what's going on. You're there ethically to serve the team. And that has to be clear in the beginning. And even if you are coaching the leader, you're coaching the leader in service of the team. Okay, so I want to continue. We don't have much time left. So we got to quite a few, only a few. We went to the 3, but I would like to maybe share an example which could be helpful. Let me see. Second, I would like to share, and this will illustrate, I think. So, can you, I'm not sharing, wait, let me see. So, just a clear distinction. Coaching is partnering for individual, professional, and personal growth. Group coaching, when individuals get together, common theme, personal goals. And team coaching, the team is the client, there's a collective purpose, there are dynamic stakeholders. Systemic team coaching, value creation with and for stakeholders. This is creating this shared purpose. And I would like you to look at this. This is one of my clients I'm working with. And take a look at that picture. What does that picture tell you?
They're all the same spirit with the sharks.
Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit of this, and I have permission from them to share. No, so I asked. This is an NGO. It's called Saving the Sharks, Saving Our Sharks. And we were defining the common purpose. So that picture is of a team coaching session. So I asked them to write, who are you in service of? And they said, communities, fishermen, government, the people that bring the money, or whatever. And I asked them, what's the name of your NGO? And they looked at me and they said, Saving Our Sharks. So who is the central here for you to exist? And they said, oh, it's the sharks. And how do you say in English? What is it?
Rayas.
Here in Spanish.
Rayas. How do you say rayas in English?
Stingrays.
Race.
Rays? Okay. Okay. So they have all this creation to save the sharks and the rays. So I said, and where are the sharks? So that's where we were in the middle of the session, and I got a print screen, got this, and put them there. And I said, okay, if you put them in an empty chair, they can't sit. Being in their shoes, they don't wear shoes. So we're gonna invite them to this Zoom meeting. What would they say? Bring their voices. What would they say? And it was, I will tell you, people were in tears. The sharks and rays would say, save us. We need you. Save our children, our kids. Protect our pregnant sharks and rays. Stop fighting for nonsense, no? And then after that, it was wow, like that, no? And they were, okay, that's the reason you're here. Okay, so bring the other voices. What would the fishermen say? And then they said, you, in a way, forced us to stop fishing for sharks. Now we're fishing something different. We need to feed our families. We need to pay our bills. Help us. And then it was, okay. And then what would the fundraiser say? If you don't bring this amount of money, we'll have to close down this NGO. And I asked them, okay, and what about you? What will you say as a team? If we don't do that, we're going to disappear. So it was a parallel process there of survival. Do you understand? So the sharks need to be saved. The fisherman needs to be saved to have income. and the institution needs to be saved. So we worked on how can we shift, like the positive bunny, how can we shift and transform so this doesn't paralyze you and this doesn't block you. So that's the power of bringing, when you see, and I find that image very powerful, bringing in the sharks, which is the central. Without sharks, that institution wouldn't exist. So I'm going to stop here. Is there any questions? If you could very quickly give one word of what is it that you're taking today.
Thank you, Katya. Just a small announcement. We need people to share their feedback with us. I shared in the chat the link to the form. So if you can kindly help us get your feedback to our speaker and the organization team.
So what are you taking?
I'm taking a lot of curiosity. I want to learn more, to be honest. I would love to have two of this presentation.
What else? Thank you, Claudia.
Yeah, I think this is very complex, and I have a million questions.
Okay, we can talk after, or you can write and connect with me if you don't.
Yeah, I something that is again for me is the power of team coaching. Yes, when we work with one individual, we have impact, but when we have working with a unit that is the team coaching, the impact is huge, and it is beyond that. And this is, I think, the sense for us as coaches of making this transformation is amazing.
Thank you. I'm going to ask from you, at least leave me one word so I can have the feedback and I can receive that from you. Okay? So thank you, everybody.
We're all inspired, Katya. Good job.
Thank you, Shakti. Thank you for the exercise. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And we can talk all you want about this.
Yes, I think we're going to schedule a part 2 for this meeting. We'll let you know.
And I have the presentation. I don't know if it was boring or if you want it.
We can share it.
Like the presentation, yes.
Yes, people want the presentation. I told you.
Okay.
Send it to all participants.
Okay. So thank you, everybody.
Here, Katya, can you stay for a couple of minutes?
Yes. So thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Bye.
Sandra,
Bye-bye.
see you.
Thank you.